Today's video, you're renting emotion instead of owning it and why it's quietly killing your best work. Sorry, but it is. And after this video, you're gonna have lots of tips about how to navigate the dark, murky waters of stock library music. Just kidding. Obviously, there's some good stuff on there as well. But let's jump in and we can talk about the positives and the negatives. So here we go. If you're using library music, you are renting emotion. There's no other way around it. It's just fact, because you're borrowing somebody else's emotional language. It's not bespoke to you. It's not bespoke to your brand. And it's just a really strange way of supporting your visual message, because it is designed to be universal. It's not yours. It's supposed to be online on a library, so it resonates to a depth with the widest amount of people so that lots of people use it. And that's the other thing, lots of people are using it. And so you putting all this hard work and effort into your visuals, into the story, into the arc, into the emotional journey, and then you're just using a piece of music that's supposed to fit loads of other arcs and emotional journeys. When you think about it, it's crazy to even think that it would work. And I get it, budgets don't always allow for bespoke music, but there are things you can do without bespoke music by just understanding how to use library music a little bit better if you have to, or maybe find some more cost-effective solutions. So the analogy that we always like to use with people here is, as you can see, it's like using a stock photo. You think that looks great. Yeah, I think that photo is going to really work. And then you put it out, and then all of a sudden you see a bunch of other people using it, and maybe in different contexts. You can have a piece of music that you think works great for you that all of a sudden is used in a competitor's video, or even an industry that your industry is trying to go against or change or doesn't want to be associated with. There's just so many challenges with it. And it's the hidden leak, we believe, in so many great campaigns. And like most brands don't lose impact because of the bad ideas, but they lose it in post. So you've come up with all these great ideas and you've storyboarded them. You've got the right talent, the location, you put in all this effort and all this money. And then you start thinking about sound. You're like, oh, great. Okay, cool. We've got all this and now we got to think about sound. And you probably spent a lot of your budget already just because of where you placed sound in the wider conversation. And then it puts you into this position where you do have to rent somebody else's emotion instead of creating your own. So firstly, you want to make that decision much more upfront in the whole process, because that last 10% can carry or kill the emotion of the whole piece. And you spent so much time and so much energy into making that work great to impress the client, to maybe impress your boss. There's so many gatekeepers that deserve to get the best version of your idea. And then sound can just leak all that integrity out. Leaking integrity. Not sure about that as an image, but maybe it's a fact. Maybe that's the kind of image we need to be thinking about to get people to really start taking sound as seriously as it deserves. So what's really at stake? That is the big thing. It's not just about what music can add, it's also about what bad music can sort of put at stake. Again, the casting, the message, the edit, it's all looking great. You spent so much time. You've got lots of producers, you got creative directors, you got a brand manager, you got a CMO that you're trying to impress. And so understandably, you got a lot of decisions. So sound might not be right up there. But then when you come to sound and you haven't given it that time and that budget that it deserves, then the wrong sound can just make it all look generic. It can just ruin the entire piece. And I don't want that for you, because you put in a lot of hard work. And it doesn't just sound bad, it cheapens everything around it. So it's not like people are going to be watching the piece and thinking, oh, but look at that staging, look at that acting, that's all great. Oh, the sound's not great. It just, all of that gets reduced along with it. And that doesn't help anyone at all. And that's because your sound, your ideas deserve sound that magnifies it. It's like all of this, the sound, the visuals, it's all just elevating your idea. And that idea is going to be elevating the brand that you're working, or the initiative, or whatever that might be. So there's a lot at stake. And I don't think people necessarily think about what bad sound can put at stake until it's potentially too late, which is terrible. And then the budget reality. Everyone's budgets are getting tighter. Let's not pretend like we don't recognize that. And so, it's a real thing that we understand people have at the forefront, and sound's an easy thing to, reduce a budget on. But I think when you start to see the effects that sound can really have, particularly when you start using bad sound that cheapens everything, then you realize how much it can elevate something. And I mean, it doesn't always have to add a lot of cost. You don't need a full custom score, just a custom approach as to how you're finding the music, like what libraries, why you're choosing it, how it's going to elevate, like maybe how popular it is. Is there any way you can be customizing a library track or a track from someone's catalog? That's always something that we're always working with people to realize, that there are a lot of people like ourselves that have a lot of tracks in our catalog that can be customized, that is much more budget friendly. And so you get that custom approach. And with that custom approach is you start to understand how the brand should sound, and the tone and the tempo, which you can then be weaving into all of your other campaigns, activations, initiatives, whatever you might be working on at the minute, that starts to get that common thread running through everything. So there's so many intermediary positions between, bespoke and then library. There's this whole wonderful world where if you work with the right people, that you can find something that's going to fit to your budget and still elevate all that other hard work you've put into the project. And that's what it comes down to, protecting the work. That's the thing, everything is thought about in such fine detail. And, every frame you shoot deserves sound that earns it, not just a placeholder. You can't let that last 10% erase the first 90%. Otherwise, what's the point? And then again, you just get to own the emotion. That's the thing. You're owning the visuals. You're not going to be using stock footage, and then you're using stock sound. It's just crazy. And then it gives you that competitive advantage. If you're not going to start really taking a serious approach to how you're using sound, I guarantee your competitors will. Some of the people that we're working with now are, and you can see the results. And that just shows that they are using sound and it's elevating their work, as opposed to the way they're using sound quietly killing their work. And, we've been in those rooms. We've seen great work lose its bite, all because of the wrong sound. Nobody likes it. Sometimes people don't even want to say, and you don't always need more budget, just more intention. And that just comes from the intention of how you're using sound and what stage of the process you're thinking about sound, and making sure that it has enough importance put on it so that you allocate the right kind of budget at the beginning. That can save you all of this headache, is that realization, that intention of how you're using sound from the start, and then that feeds all the way through budget planning, which means that the post part of the process, you actually have a track that is really going to help you. And that's just all that awareness. We're not here trying to say find more budget so you can spend more on music at the end of the process. It's not about that. It's about just recognizing the importance of it. So it's just that awareness, that intention and understanding that will just pay dividends over and over again, and make sure that the sound you're using isn't quietly killing your work without you recognizing it. If you ever want another pair of ears on something, feel free to reach out. We always love checking out work and helping out where we can. See ya.